It was our biannual review meeting, the one day every 6 months when promotions, raises, and recognition were officially announced. The entire sales team packed into the conference room, buzzing with anticipation. I sat near the front, heart racing, but hopeful. After 4 years of relentless work as a sales executive, I knew this was my moment. I had led the regional numbers 3 quarters in a row, secured 2 of our largest accounts, and mentored half the new hires. The open role of senior regional sales manager had practically been built on the systems I created. Mark Ellison, our team manager and the company's representative for the review committee, stood at the head of the table with his usual smug confidence. "Before we break for lunch, I'd like to share some exciting news," he said, flipping through his notes with performative flair. Then came the bombshell. "We're pleased to announce that Claire Thompson will be stepping into the senior regional sales manager role starting next month." I froze. Claire, the same Claire who barely showed up on time, missed follow-ups with key clients, and spent more time scrolling Instagram than reviewing sales decks. The room was silent, stunned. Then awkward applause trickled in. My throat tightened. I caught a few side glances from coworkers who looked just as confused as I felt. During the lunch break, I sat with my closest teammates near the window, plates untouched. They leaned in whispering. "Did you hear?" One said, "Someone at HQ says Mark and Claire have been dating quietly." "Seriously," another replied. "No wonder she got the role. She's not even qualified." I stared at my untouched sandwich, anger and betrayal swirling in my chest. I had played the long game, worked harder than anyone, and still somehow I was invisible, but not for much longer. That afternoon, I didn't cry. I didn't storm into Mark's office or confront Claire. I just walked calmly back to my desk, opened a blank document, and began writing my plan. Because the truth was, I had seen this coming. Not the Claire part, that betrayal cut deeper than I'd expected, but the pattern. Over the last 2 years, I had watched people with louder laughs and lighter workloads climb faster than those of us doing the real work. Mark never cared for results. He cared for comfort, and Claire made him comfortable. What no one in that office knew was that I had been quietly building something of my own on nights and weekends, a modular sales enablement platform custom-built for high-performance teams, like the one I thought we were. It was sleek, predictive, and already tested in beta with a few outside contacts from my network. Not one line of code was written on company time. It was mine. Every part of it. The patent had been filed 2 months ago. Last week it was approved. I glanced across the bullpen at Claire, who was laughing too loudly over a lukewarm latte, clearly basking in her new title. Let her have it. I wasn't going to fight her for scraps. I was going to outgrow the table entirely. By the end of the day, I had drafted my resignation, but I didn't submit it. Not yet. Instead, I printed 2 copies, one for HR, and one with an attachment for Mark Ellison himself. He wouldn't see it coming, and when he finally turned to the last page, he'd realize exactly what and who he had just let walk out the door. I didn't sleep much that night. The next morning, I knocked on Mark Ellison's door before the office even filled up. He looked up from his laptop, surprised. "Hey, Dana, something on your mind?" "Yeah," I said, keeping my voice steady. "I'd like to talk about the promotion decision. I need to understand how Claire was chosen over me." He leaned back in his chair and folded his hands. "I figured you might want to talk." I sat down across from him, heart pounding. I've led this team in performance for 3 straight quarters. My accounts brought in 40% of total regional revenue last year. I've built training systems, streamlined workflows. I was hoping for at least a conversation. Mark sighed like he'd been through this before. "Dana, your numbers are great, no one's denying that. But Claire, she brings something different to the table. She's personable. Clients like her. The team finds her more approachable." I blinked. "Approachable." He nodded, not even flinching. "She lightens the mood. People want to work around her. You're intense sometimes. Focused. You tend to come off too serious. My stomach turned. So I didn't get the role because I'm too focused on delivering results. He hesitated, then shrugged. Look, leadership isn't just about numbers. It's about chemistry. Culture. You're great, Dana, but Claire fits better with the direction we want. There it was, the slap disguised as feedback. Not a word about my contributions, just vibes and favoritism. I stood slowly. Thanks for your honesty. But as I walked out, something shifted in me. The Dana who used to stay late, who tried to earn respect through effort, that Dana died in that chair. By 5 p.m., I had drafted my resignation letter, attached a copy of my patented platform report, and printed 2 copies. I wasn't walking out in shame. I was walking out with leverage. It was a rainy Tuesday when I finally decided I was done waiting for validation from people who only saw surface. I stayed late that evening, but not to finish a client report. I sat alone in the conference room with my laptop open, fingers hovering over the Submit Application button on the Architect Partners job portal, the same company Mark had once smugly called overrated in a team meeting. What no one in that office knew was that for the past year and a half, I had been quietly building something on my own time. A modular sales enablement platform designed to help sales teams work smarter, not harder. A tool that could analyze patterns, predict deal closing probability, and reduce onboarding time by 40%. It was sleek, adaptive, and had already been beta tested with 3 of my old connections from grad school, each of whom had raved about the impact. It was never built with revenge in mind, but sitting there staring at the same office where I'd been overlooked for years, something in me switched. Let's see how Mark feels when his best performer gets scooped by the very people he used to mock. I attached my resume loaded with hard numbers impact stats and a footnote mentioning my newly patented system and hit send. 2 days later, I was on a Zoom call with Eli Warner, the VP of Strategy at Architect. He didn't waste time. Dana, your work speaks for itself, he said, flipping through my digital portfolio. And this platform is revolutionary. I've built it to scale, I replied calmly, and I've done it without a single resource from Westbridge. He nodded, impressed. Let me be direct. We're not just interested in hiring you. We're interested in partnering with you. I'll send over a draft offer with equity options and a product roadmap slot. I didn't smile. Not yet, because the final move still belonged to me, and it was coming. The following Monday, I walked into Westbridge Sales HQ with the kind of calm that only comes when you've already won. I wore my sharpest navy blazer, not for them, but for me. I didn't owe this place a meltdown, a scene, or even an explanation. Just one envelope. I made my way through the bullpen, passing Claire as she laughed over cold brew with another junior rep, wearing the smugness of someone who thought she'd earned something she didn't understand. Mark's door was open. He was mid-scroll on his phone, probably checking fantasy football rankings. Dana. Hey, got a sec? He asked like nothing had happened. I stepped inside, placed a white envelope neatly on his desk. What's this? My resignation. Effective 2 weeks from today. He blinked. Wait, what? I think the note on page 2 will answer your questions, I said smoothly. You might want to read it now. He opened the envelope, brows tightening as his eyes moved from line to line. The resignation was just the appetizer. What followed was a comprehensive breakdown of the patented platform I had developed, complete with savings forecasts, onboarding impact retention metrics, and confirmed licensing interest from Architect Partners. And right at the end in bold, patent. Registered under Dana Whitmore. Equity partnership pending. Not for internal use or adaptation by Westbridge or its affiliates. His face drained of color. You developed this while working here, on my own time, with my own tools. No conflict of interest, Mark. You would have known that if you'd bothered to ask about what I've been building all these years. He opened his mouth to speak. I came to you for growth, I said, voice level but cutting. You gave me Claire. Silence. We'll match their offer, he finally blurted. Title bump. more visibility. Let's talk. I smiled a small, cold smile. You don't have a counter-offer for Legacy. You just have regrets. As I turned to leave, I caught a glimpse of Claire through the glass. She was laughing again, but soon she'd be the one drowning in systems she didn't understand because I had taken the blueprint with me. And Westbridge. They were about to learn what happened when you let your foundation walk out the door. 6 months. That's how long it took to turn everything around. When I first stepped into my new office at Architect Solutions, it felt like entering another universe. Gone were the beige cubicles and passive-aggressive Slack threads. My new workspace overlooked the Chicago skyline, floor-to-ceiling windows, sunlight flooding in a nameplate on the door that read, Dana Whitmore, Partner Strategic Innovation. But the real difference wasn't the view. It was the respect. From day one, I wasn't treated like a replaceable employee. I was treated like a force. My patented sales enablement platform, now named PulseTrack TM, had already begun rollout across 3 divisions. Within the first quarter, project timelines were slashed by 52%, close rates increased by 38%, new rep onboarding time dropped from 8 weeks to 3, client satisfaction skyrocketed. Department heads, people with 2 decades in the game, were quoting my system in executive meetings. Then came the Forbes feature, Meet the Woman, Rewriting B2B Sales Tech. Dana Whitmore's Quiet Revolution. My name was everywhere. Meanwhile, back at Westbridge, they were unraveling. I didn't have to check, but I did out of curiosity. Q2 earnings missed. 3 flagship clients gone. Internal systems fractured and undocumented, according to an expose in the Chicago Business Ledger. Even worse, they'd tried to rebuild my system from scratch. Without the logic, the algorithms, or the intuition baked into every line of my code, they failed. Claire had stepped down. Mark was floundering. I heard they brought in consultants to restructure operations, but the foundation was already cracked. And I was the foundation. One crisp Thursday morning, Jared Lewis, the CEO of Architect, knocked on my door holding a printed headline, Westbridge loses 30% of client base in post-promotion collapse. They finally admitted they mishandled everything he said. I glanced up, expression calm. They thought I was just writing reports. He smiled. They were wrong. And that day, Jared made it official. I was now Executive Vice President of Strategic Innovation. I wasn't just helping Architect grow. I was reshaping the industry. And all of it. Every promotion they denied me. Every time they said I was too intense. Every moment they underestimated me became the fuel. Because I didn't just walk away. I rose. It started with a whisper. A missed deadline here. A major client growing cold there. Then the news broke. Westbridge had lost 3 of its top-tier accounts clients I had personally brought in and nurtured through years of careful relationship building. Without Pulse Track TM in place, deals slipped through the cracks. Forecasts became guesswork. Follow-ups were missed entirely, and Claire, she crumbled under pressure. Within 2 months of stepping into the role of senior regional sales manager, she had overlooked 3 enterprise RFPs, misallocated budgets by over $100,000, failed to lead a single successful team meeting. Reports surfaced internally that she was delegating everything but understanding nothing. Her charm didn't scale. And when numbers didn't lie, neither could Mark. The same sales reps who once whispered rumors over lunch now posted cryptic LinkedIn updates. Promoting the wrong people is more expensive than it looks. Real leadership isn't loud, it's competent. And then one morning it came, a message from Mark straight to my personal inbox. Subject, I owe you an apology. Dana. I assume you've seen the state of things at Westbridge. I won't make excuses. Promoting Claire was a mistake. A big one. I thought I understood what the team needed, but I ignored what they actually relied on you. We've lost key accounts. Internal systems are barely holding together. The board is asking hard questions. I also just learned about PulseTrack. I didn't know. I should have asked more. Should have listened. I was wrong. Completely. And I see that now. If there's any part of you that would consider returning, maybe even leading the turnaround, we'd make it worth your while. Mark. I stared at the screen for a long time. A few months ago, that message might have cracked something open inside me. But now it was just punctuation, not a new chapter. Just proof. Proof that they hadn't just lost a good employee. They had lost their spine. I didn't respond right away. I let Mark's email sit in my inbox for a few days unread, but fully absorbed. I wasn't angry. I wasn't even flattered. Just still, because when someone finally sees your value after they've already gambled it away, that's not clarity, that's consequence. That Friday evening, as the city lights flickered on outside my office, I leaned back in my chair, a warm tea in hand, and reread the message one last time. Then I opened a reply. Subject RE, I owe you an apology. Mark, thank you for your message. I'm genuinely sorry. Things turned out the way they did for the team, the clients, and the company. But let's be honest, the signs were always there. You chose to overlook them just as you overlooked me. I didn't leave because of Claire. I left because you made it clear that real results didn't matter as much as easy conversations and surface-level charm. That's not a culture I can build anything in. I've found my place now. I'm exactly where I need to be, leading, innovating, growing. Not to prove anyone wrong, but to prove myself right. I wish you and the team the best. Dana. I hit send. And just like that, the last tie was cut. Clean calm. No revenge speech, no gloating. LinkedIn post. Just closure. That weekend I went for a walk along Lake Michigan. The spring wind cool on my face. I thought about all the other women like me, steady hands in chaotic rooms. The ones who carried departments got passed over and stayed silent far too long. Maybe they'd hear this story. Maybe it would be the sign they needed to stop waiting for permission. Because the truth is, you don't need a title to lead or a manager's approval to matter. Sometimes the greatest revenge is building something so powerful, so undeniable, they can't look away. And by the time they do, you've already outgrown them.